Good afternoon and thanks for joining us. I'm Judy Simpson. Our guest today has been involved at the highest level of UVM athletics for more than 30 years. He arrived as a student athlete in 1985 and was a 4-year standout defenseman for the UVM hockey team. He was drafted by the Boston Bruins, but chose a career in college sports administration and leadership. He served as UVM's assistant athletic director and then as the senior associate director, and in 2016 he was appointed the Director of Athletics. It is a pleasure to welcome Jeff Schulman to the program. Thanks so much for coming in.
Thrilled to be here. Thank you for having me, Judy.
We've got a lot to talk about, including a new facility for UVM athletics, but let's start with the fact that this is a very busy time in college athletics. Winter sports are advancing into the postseason. Spring sports are getting underway. What's this time of year like for an athletic director?
It's a great time of year. It's, I like being busy. I think all of us in the athletics department enjoy being busy, and this is probably the busiest time of the year as our winter sports, kind of conclude their playoffs, and our spring sports are well underway. So lots happening up on campus, and again, the excitement of postseason is always fantastic, and to see our spring sport teams, our men's and women's lacrosse programs, and our track program getting ready and getting into their season is fun. So lots happening and a very exciting time of the year.
Of course, the men's basketball team has been very strong for a number of years. What's it like behind the scenes of the NCAA selection and the tournament itself?
Well, it's, the NCAA basketball championship is just an incredible event, and people, there's great viewership and great attention, and people filling out brackets. There's a great energy about that, and, we've been fortunate to have a very successful basketball program for quite some time and participate in that event. And, it just brings an excitement and an enthusiasm to our community that's really special.
How many varsity sports programs are there at UVM?
We have 18 Division I varsity sports. In the fall, we have men's and women's soccer, field hockey, and men's and women's cross country running. In the winter, men's and women's ice hockey, men's and women's basketball, swimming, and skiing for men and women, and indoor track for men and women. And then in the spring, we have men's and women's lacrosse and outdoor track for men and women. So it's a little misleading because track really is 6 programs. You have cross country for men and women in the fall, indoor track for men and women in the winter, and outdoor track for men and women in the spring. So our track and field athletes are busy all year round.
And talk about the national sports championships that UVM's been involved in.
We have a great history of competing at a national level in several of our sports. Our ski program, probably most prominently on the national level, we've won 6 national championships in skiing. That program has a great history. Chip Lacasse was an incredible developer of a ski program, and Denny Lambert, who was the former athletic director, was involved in that before. Bob Stone. There's some great names in the history of our ski program that have gotten us to be competitive on a national level, and Bill Reichel and Patrick Weaver are doing a fantastic job continuing that tradition now. Our men's basketball program, as I mentioned before, has gone to 6 NCAA tournaments. We've won 2 games in the NCAA tournament. Your viewers, I'm sure, will remember our incredible win over Syracuse in 2005. We also won a game in 2012 when we beat Lamar in the first round of the tournament. That was sort of the first 4, not quite the same profile as the Syracuse win. Our women's basketball program has gone to the national championship on a few different occasions. Our men's soccer program has been in the NCAA tournament, and obviously men's ice hockey has been in the NCAAs several times, including 2 trips to the Frozen Four.
And even though winning isn't the only thing, success certainly breeds success as far as being able to attract these student athletes.
No question. We're we're in a competitive enterprise, and we want to win. But part of the DNA of UVM athletics, dating back to when I was a student athlete in the late '80s and even before that, has been that as competitive as we are and as important as winning is, it's not a win at all cost kind of environment. And some of the things you see going on in college athletics really are not great to watch and to hear and to read about, and that's it's one of the things that I'm most proud of our department. department is that we do things the right way, and we've never been the kind of program that is going to compromise its integrity academically or in terms of rules compliance in order to win. That doesn't mean we don't want to win and that we don't win, but we think we can be successful competitively while also doing things the right way.
And a successful graduation rate?
We have a fantastic graduation rate, one of the best in the country. The GPA of our student athletes, we've had 31 straight semesters with a collective grade point average above 3.0. Last fall semester we had our highest GPA ever. It was 3.28 for all of our 400+ student athletes. So that's, as I said, I think that's something that as the director of athletics, it's certainly I'm proud of, and I think Vermonters really should be proud of. We're the only Division I school in the state of Vermont, and there's a big responsibility that comes with that, and making sure that we're administering a program that Vermonters can be proud of.
Talk a little bit about the student athlete. Who are these folks? Because it takes an awful lot of work to accomplish goals at this level.
Yeah, we have amazing young men and young women in our athletic program, and what they've had to do in order just to be able to compete at the Division I level is incredible. The amount of time and dedication and commitment and discipline that it takes to be a Division I athlete is really extraordinary. And in many cases, their families have had to sacrifice quite a bit financially and time. And elite athletes, it's not always the most family-friendly kind of upbringing.
Travel.
Right, and so, and at the same time, they have to be exceptional students in order to be admitted to the University of Vermont and to be successful academically. So they're an amazing group of students on our campus, and they're good citizens. It's important to us that they're involved in the community and get out and interact with young people in particular. So it's a really special group. It's the thing that I enjoy most about my job, of course, is working with them and getting to know them and watching them grow and develop during their time.
And we should mention too, once the season's over, that doesn't mean the work's over.
Yeah, and that's probably the biggest difference from when I was a student athlete back in the 80s, and I felt like I was working pretty hard at what I was doing, but the time commitment that's required now of our student athletes is really significant, and much more so than it was during their season, obviously, but off season as well, with strength training and skill development, and it's a big commitment.
And we should mention too that at UVM there's no football, which is a little bit unique for Division I school, but also no baseball or softball, and there's a whole program that's sort of been developed called the Bring It Back campaign. What do you think about that? Do you think that those sports will return to UVM as far as softball and baseball?
Well, it's every school makes their own decisions about what sports that they're going to sponsor at any given time, and it does evolve over time. We had baseball for many years. Baseball was dropped. It was brought back, and now we no longer have it. Several other sports that we've sponsored at different times that we no longer sponsor at the varsity level. As far as baseball goes and the Bring It Back movement, I'm close to many of the people that are involved in that, and I love baseball. I played it my whole life. I actually tried out for the baseball team at UVM. I got cut very quickly, but I did try out for the team, and I respect the emotion and the passion that those folks have about the sport. It's an amazing sport. We've got a great facility, and there's certainly some financial realities that make it difficult to consider adding new varsity sports right now. We're working hard to support the 18 sports that we have at the best level possible. But I think, the landscape of college athletics evolves all the time. So, I think it would be a mistake to say that these programs could never come back. But in the short term, I think it's unlikely.
And so after graduating from UVM, you spent 3 years as assistant athletic director at Bates College in Maine. What did you learn from being at a smaller Division III school?
Well, I loved my time at Bates. My first job out of UVM was as an intern at the Eastern College Athletic Conference on Cape Cod, which was a great experience. And at the time, most of the people who were getting into college athletics, and you know this, having a father who was an athletic director, right. Maybe you should spend some time talking to my children about that experience. But it's not easy to get administrative experience in intercollegiate athletics as a young person, and for many years it was sort of ex-coaches that became athletic directors, and that's really started to shift. So I was fortunate to have the internship that I did at the ECAC, and then I had a great experience at Bates. It's as you said, a small Division III school, but they take athletics really seriously. It's a very strong academic institution, and so I felt right at home coming from UVM at a place that valued competitive success, but also academic excellence. And it was a great experience. I joke with people all the time that the best part about the job was when they handed me keys to all the athletic facilities. I thought I had died and gone to heaven. My God, I can come and go anytime I want. And, I had a great experience at Bates.
Was it much of a transition to move back to UVM? A bigger school?
Well, I was pretty comfortable at UVM just because I'd obviously been here as a student athlete. But yeah, there's certainly different issues that you deal with in Division I than in Division III. Division III doesn't have any athletic scholarships. That's a big part of being competitive in Division I. And the community support and the attendance at games is one of the things we're so fortunate with here. And when I talk to my colleagues around our conferences, one of the things that they mention to me all the time is just how envious they are of the incredible fan support that we get and student support. And so the energy and the profile of the program is certainly very different in Vermont than it was at Bates.
Now, longtime Vermonters know there have been some twists and turns in an effort to get a new athletic facility at UVM, but things have moved forward. Bring us up to date on where that stands.
Sure, I'd be happy to. It's I think it's important for your viewers. Many will know that the core of our athletic complex, what we call the Patrick Forbush Gutterson facility, was built in 1963. At that time, the UVM had a student body of 3,500. It was really built mostly for men because women weren't nearly as involved as they are now, unfortunately. It was unfortunate they weren't as involved back then as they are now. We have 10,500 undergraduates, another 2,000 graduate students, faculty and staff that are using our facilities. So as we say, it's time for an upgrade. And we've been talking about major facility improvements for quite some time. Most of that time, the focus was on a single new arena that would house both hockey and basketball. We even went down the road with talking with the city of South Burlington and the city of Burlington about potential options. When I became athletic director a couple years ago, it was really important for me to kind of take a fresh look at the whole issue. And we're seeing some of the renderings now. There's two sort of themes that came through loud and clear in those conversations. One is that we wanted to stay on campus with our athletic facilities. We didn't want to move off campus and play games either in downtown Burlington or in South Burlington. And the other was that there's really a strong emotional connection that our community feels and our students feel and our alumni feel to Gutterson Fieldhouse. It's a really special kind of iconic college hockey facility. And you can see some of the renderings now of what the renovation of Gutterson is going to look like.
So it will still be the gut.
Still be the gut. The character and the energy are going to be maintained. And what you can't see so well in this rendering is that we're now going to have seat backs on both the north and south side. So it'll be a much more comfortable spectator experience. You can see a expanded concourse on the north side, a new concourse on the south side. You can see a club room there overlooking the ice. And the beautiful part of this concept is the renovated Gutterson and the new basketball facility are actually going to be side by side and fully integrated. So a shared concourse, shared restrooms, shared concessions, shared club room that looks in one direction towards hockey and one direction towards basketball.
Nice.
So I think it's a really efficient concept. To me, it looks and feels like Vermont. You can see that there's a lot of elements of Gutterson that are picked up in what we're calling the event center where basketball is going to be played. So I think we've landed on a concept that really fits who we are very well.
And you're going to repurpose the Patrick Gym.
Yeah, so that's the other piece that's really critical in this. We're calling this a multi-purpose center, and it's multi-purpose because it's not just intercollegiate varsity athletics, but there's an entire component that's recreation, health, and wellness. We're one of the few Division I athletic departments in the country that have health, wellness, and recreation under athletics. So you're seeing now a rendering of how Patrick Gym, where we currently play basketball, is going to be repurposed into a health, wellness, and recreation space to serve the needs of the campus community. And we're going from 15,000 square feet of dedicated student recreation space to 100,000 square feet of dedicated student recreation space. So the timeline is we've been meeting with our trustees on a regular basis to keep them updated. They've blessed the concept and given us approval to move forward with planning and design. And, excuse me, the plan is that by next fall we have full approval from the trustees. It's going to require some additional fundraising and institutional support. Our hope is to bid the job to contractors next November and have a shovel in the ground next March and be open by the 2021 academic year. Ambitious. Yeah.
We should mention, if people want more information, they can go to uvmathletics.com. That site includes all kinds of information about games and tickets and so forth. Thank you so much for joining us today.
It's a pleasure. Thank you very much for having me.
Exciting times for UVM athletics.
It sure is.
Thanks for joining us, everybody. I'll be back again next time on Across the Fence.